Pablo Sandoval's belt popped open, mid-swing, during a major league at-bat. He was so overweight, teams had to call hotels and tell them not to deliver room service to his room. He lied about working out, gained 25 pounds during seasons when he was supposed to be losing weight. By every measure, he should have been baseball's biggest waste of talent. Instead, he joined Babe Ruth in the record books with one of the greatest World Series performances in history. And how he did it? Nobody saw coming. Before we dive into this incredible story, hit that like button if you're ready to hear about one of the most unlikely superstars in baseball history. Subscribe and turn on notifications. This story has more plot twists than a Hollywood movie. But first, you need to understand just how bad things got. When Pablo Sandoval made his Major League Baseball debut in 2008, the San Francisco Giants were desperate. They'd been struggling for years, and this 22-year-old switch hitter from Venezuela was supposed to be part of the solution. Right away, you could see the talent. In just 41 games, he hit .345 with 3 home runs and 24 RBIs. The kid could flat out hit. But there was something else that caught everyone's attention: his physique. Pablo wasn't built like your typical athlete. At 5'11" and already pushing 250 pounds as a rookie, he looked more like someone's uncle who played weekend softball. His teammates started calling him Kung Fu Panda, after the animated movie character. It was meant to be playful, but it also highlighted just how different Pablo looked compared to everyone else on the field. In 2009, Pablo's weight became a real problem. He started the season at 246 pounds and worked his way up to 270 over the course of the season. That's gaining 25 pounds during the season when most players are trying to stay in peak condition. But here's the crazy part: it didn't seem to hurt his hitting. Pablo had this approach that drove coaches absolutely nuts. See ball, hit ball. He'd swing at pitches in the dirt, pitches over his head, pitches 3 feet outside the strike zone. His hitting coach said it best: "As much as I try to get him to be disciplined, it's like caging a lion. He leaves the dugout ready to swing the bat." Despite his unorthodox approach, Pablo put up incredible numbers in 2009. He deserved to be an all-star, but somehow got snubbed. By the end of the year, keeping him out looked stupid. His batting average was top 5 in the league and he received MVP votes. The problem was the Giants as a team couldn't get over the hump. They had 88 wins but missed the playoffs. And the front office had one message for Pablo going into 2010: lose weight. When Pablo showed up to spring training in 2010, he was still overweight and out of shape. The organization was not pleased. You could see the effects on the field immediately. His infield hits dropped in half. The number of double plays he grounded into doubled. His bad conditioning was showing up in his performance. Off the field, things weren't going well either. Pablo was going through a divorce and the stress was affecting everything. His batting average dropped to .263 with just 6 home runs and nearly 400 at-bats. During the All-Star break in July, Pablo made a decision that probably saved his season. He left the United States and returned to Venezuela to clear his head. When he came back, he was a different player. The Giants won 92 games and took first place in their division. Pablo had found his swing again and the team was finally clicking. But when the playoffs started, Pablo looked overwhelmed. The pressure seemed to get to him. He was unproductive and still carrying too much weight. His postseason performance was so bad that the Giants actually benched him during the NLCS. The Giants won the 2010 World Series without significant contributions from their supposed offensive catalyst. It was a wake-up call for both Pablo and the organization. That's when the Giants implemented something they called Operation Panda. The main objective was simple: get Pablo's weight down from 270 pounds and get him back to being the player they knew he could be. By spring training 2011, it had worked. Pablo showed up 30 pounds lighter and in the best shape of his career. he looked like a completely different player. The results were immediate. In April, he was hitting .313 and looked unstoppable. But then disaster struck. He broke his wrist and missed 41 games. Just when everything was coming together, his body betrayed him again. When he came back in June, Pablo went on a 22-game hit streak that ended right before the All-Star game. He was finally putting together the kind of season everyone expected from him. The highlight of his 2011 season came in September when he hit for the cycle. A single, double, triple, and home run in the same game. Watching Pablo Sandoval leg out a triple was something you had to see to believe. Going into 2012, the Giants were taking no chances with Pablo's conditioning. They actually told hotel room service not to feed Pablo even if he called. They were that concerned about his eating habits. The extra attention paid off. Pablo started the season with a 19-game hit streak, a Giants record for consecutive hits to open a season. He made his first All-Star game and was having the best year of his career. When the playoffs arrived, Pablo was ready. The Giants had won 94 games and were facing the Cincinnati Reds in the first round. This time, Pablo wasn't going to be a spectator. Pablo had a huge series against Cincinnati, including a crucial home run in Game 4 that helped send the Giants to the next round. He was finally showing up when it mattered most. Against the St. Louis Cardinals in the NLCS, Pablo was even better. He got hits in 6 of the 7 games, and many of the Giants' wins were blowouts. Pablo was a major reason they reached their second World Series in 3 years. The 2012 World Series was supposed to belong to the Detroit Tigers. They had Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, 2 future Hall of Fame pitchers. The Tigers were overwhelming favorites. But Pablo Sandoval had other plans. In his first at-bat of Game 1, facing Justin Verlander, Pablo did something that sent AT&T Park into absolute chaos. He crushed a home run to center field. The place went nuts, but Pablo wasn't done. Not even close. In his very next at-bat, still facing Verlander, Pablo did it again. Another home run, this time to left field. 2 home runs and 2 at-bats in the World Series. The crowd was losing their minds. When Pablo came up for the third at-bat, everyone in the stadium was on their feet. Could he possibly do it again? Could the overweight third baseman who'd been benched in his first postseason actually hit 3 home runs in a World Series game? He launched it to center field. 3 home runs in 3 at-bats. Pablo Sandoval had just joined Babe Ruth and Reggie Jackson as the only players in history to hit 3 home runs in a World Series game. But Pablo's performance was even more impressive than Ruth's or Jackson because he did it in consecutive at-bats. Back-to-back-to-back home runs in the World Series. It was one of the greatest individual performances in baseball history. The Giants swept the Tigers in 4 games, and Pablo was the obvious choice for the World Series MVP. The guy who'd been too out of shape to contribute in 2010 was now the hero of the 2012 championship. When they handed Pablo that World Series MVP trophy, it was vindication for everything he'd been through. All the criticism about his weight, all the questions about his conditioning, all the doubts about whether he could perform in big moments, it all melted away. But Pablo being Pablo, the success didn't last long. By 2013, he was back to his old habits. Reports suggested he was pushing 300 pounds again. His body started breaking down with foot and hip injuries. The 2014 season was Pablo's last chance to prove he belonged in San Francisco long term. Despite his weight issues, he actually played well, hitting .279 with 16 home runs. The Giants made another World Series run in 2014, and Pablo was a key contributor. He hit .326 in the postseason with 14 hits, helping the Giants win their 3rd championship in 5 years. After the 2014 season, Pablo hit free agency for the first time in his career. The Boston Red Sox offered him a massive 5-year, $95 million contract. Despite the Giants' success, Pablo felt disrespected by their lack of effort to re-sign him. Pablo said he chose Boston because he needed a new challenge and wanted to lead a new team to a legacy. It sounded good in theory, but the reality was about to be much different. Pablo's first impression with the Red Sox was showing up to spring training completely out of shape. Again, Boston didn't know what they were getting into. The low point came when Pablo was caught using his phone during a game to like a photo on Instagram. In the middle of the game, he was benched and had to issue a public apology. His conditioning problems were showing up everywhere. He committed 15 errors at third base and was graded as the worst defensive third baseman in baseball. In 2016, Pablo's weight problems reached their peak. That's when his belt literally popped open during a swing. It was embarrassing for everyone involved. Pablo's time in Boston ended with a shoulder injury that required season-ending surgery. The Red Sox had seen enough. In 2017, the Red Sox released Pablo Sandoval, eating the remaining 2.5 years of his contract. It was one of the most expensive mistakes in baseball history. Pablo eventually returned to San Francisco on a minor league contract. He apologized to the fans and admitted his career had fallen into the abyss because he was complacent with things he had already accomplished. Pablo played sparingly for the Giants in his final years, but he was never the same player who had dominated the 2012 World Series. His body had finally given out on him. When Pablo Sandoval's career ended, he left behind one of the most complicated legacies in baseball. 3 World Series championships, a World Series MVP award, and one of the greatest individual performances in postseason history. But you can't help but wonder what could have been if Pablo had taken better care of his body. The talent was undeniable. He was a switch hitter who could drive the ball to all fields and had surprising defensive ability when he was in shape. In the end, Pablo Sandoval will be remembered for one magical night in October 2012 when he joined Babe Ruth in the record books. For one night, the overweight third baseman from Venezuela was the best player in the world. His story serves as both inspiration and warning. Inspiration because it shows that talent and clutch performance can overcome physical limitations. Warning because it shows how quickly success can disappear if you don't respect the game and your body. Pablo Sandoval proved that sometimes the most unlikely heroes can have the biggest moments. If you love hearing about baseball's most fascinating characters and their incredible stories, stick around. We've got plenty more tales of triumph, failure, and everything in between.